Do you ever feel like it's too late or you're too old to fully live out your purpose and passion in life, and that you've missed your opportunity to fulfill your dreams? Well, I agree with George Elliot, who said, "It's never too late to be what you might have been." And in this episode of the More Than a Pastor show, we'll explore how our later years can be our greater years for enjoying the life, impact, and income that we were made for. Let's get started. Hey, what's good, my friend? Welcome to the More Than a Pastor show. I'm Rich Avery, your host. This is where we help pastors, missionaries, and other ministry leaders to take your skills, experience, and ministry know-how and leverage them into sustainable income outside the church through a business or side hustle that's right for you, so you can serve God and provide for your family no matter what. Hey, thanks for joining me today. I'm really glad that you're here. And if you're new to the show, you can learn more about me, get the show notes for today's episode, and download some free resources to help you grow your income and build financial security. It's all over at my website. It's morethanapastor.com/50 for episode 50. Yes, episode 50. I'm so glad to finally hit this milestone. If you've been a listener for a while, you know I've been pushing and trying different things to try to get to this point, but it's been a struggle. Because, to be honest, I should already have been here at 50 episodes over a year ago. But back in 2021, after recording about 10 episodes, my first 10 episodes of this podcast, I pod faded. And if you're not familiar with the term pod fading, it's when a podcaster quits. Just all of a sudden, there's no announcement, there's no plan. The podcaster just skipped a week, and then another, and then another, and all of a sudden you've gone weeks or months without any new episodes. Pod fading is kind of like passing gas in church. You didn't mean to do it, it wasn't intentional, but it just happened. And unfortunately, everyone else knows it happened too, and that you were the one who did it. But just over a year ago, I relaunched the show, and I'm really glad to finally hit this 50 episode mark and to continue to move forward to provide new episodes each and every week. Hey, it's better late than never, right? And that sentiment pairs nicely with our focus for today's show. I'm really glad to have my friend Greg Gerber with us. Greg is the founder of Forward from 50, an online platform geared to helping men and women over 50 find more purpose in their lives by pursuing things they're truly passionate about. I met Greg through Platform Launchers, an online community that we're a part of that's focused on helping people turn their purpose and passion into a profitable online platform. If that sounds like something you're interested in checking out to see if it's right for you, you can check out Platform Launchers for free for 30 days by going to morethanapastor.com/platform. Actually, there are several pastors and former pastors in the group right now, including myself. Have you ever wondered if you could take your old sermons or devotionals and turn them into a book that you could sell on Amazon or in bookstores? Have you ever wondered if you could take your shepherd's heart and turn that into a coaching practice somehow? Well, yes, you can. And Platform Launchers will help you create a step-by-step plan to help you build and grow your own online platform. You can give it a test drive for free for 30 days at morethanapastor.com/platform. Come check it out, see if it's right for you. If it is, I look forward to seeing you inside Platform Launchers. And now let's get on to our conversation with Greg Gerber. Hey, Greg, welcome to the show. We're so glad to have you here.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here.
Well, I would love to know, you are the founder of Forward from 50. And so I'd just love to know, what's your vision for that? How did you get started or get the idea for Forward from 50?
It's an interesting story, Rich. I had been in business for many years as a journalist who covered the recreation vehicle industry. But then I really got burned out and actually shut down my business in 2019, right before all of COVID started.
Wow, what timing.
Yeah, I was lost though. I had no idea what I was going to do with my life going forward. I didn't sense any purpose for it. It was hard for me to get out of bed in the morning because I didn't have anything really meaningful to do. And I just slipped into this dark area of depression. And I stayed there for a number of years with all the COVID isolation, keeping everybody locked in their homes, etc. I was just a big giant pity party, really. And I had a conversation with a friend of mine about what I was going to do and how I didn't have purpose. And he said, I think a lot of men especially over 50, have that same problem, is they don't really sense a purpose in their life. And the more I thought about it, the more I agreed that this is something that people would need help with. So I founded Forward from 50 as a online platform to help men and women over the age of 50 to enjoy more purposeful lives by pursuing things they're truly passionate about. And I posted one post to my Facebook clan saying this is what I wanted to do. And 20 people stepped forward and wanted to be interviewed for it. You were one of them. And it was just, it was like confirmation that, okay, there are people out there who are interested in sharing things they're passionate about, because I can't think of anything worse than sitting in front of a television or a computer, scrolling through hours of news stories and endless negative kinds of things that you find online and in media today.
Wow. Well, that sounds like a really unique calling. And it's interesting to me how you, for so many of us, we get a calling or a vision for something in the midst of a spot where we don't want to be, where we've had a negative experience or some things happen, and it's from that births something new within us. So it's great to hear like your origin story of Forward from 50 here, and how you got the vision for that. What have you enjoyed most about these interviews or connections with people who are maybe approaching 50, or they've gone over that line and now they're wondering what's next? What's been your some joys or surprises from that?
That's a great question, Rich. And the thing that I love the most is interviewing the people that we're featuring on Forward from 50. So what I do is talk to people who are doing things that are entirely different after 50 than they did before 50. Then I write up a feature story for my website. And then a few weeks later, I turn the interview into a podcast so people can listen to or read the story that people have to share. And their stories are so inspirational that it's just hard for me not to get fired up listening to the stories that people are doing, because this enthusiasm is contagious. It really is. When you start hanging around with people who are going different places in their lives and doing things that they've always wanted to do, their enthusiasm catches you up in it as well.
That's
and
cool.
To answer the question or the comment that you had made earlier, I think all of us go through different phases in our life, and that we have multiple purposes for our life. And when we reach the end of one purpose, we can sense God pushing us into a different direction, often to pursue something else, because he wants us to grow or learn in this area as well. And so it's just a common thing. A lot of people think I've reached the end of my purpose, and that's not the case at all. You've reached the end of that purpose, but God has something more for you planned next.
Wow. Well, it sounds like you could preach a sermon on that.
Thank you.
That's a great message for many of us, and for myself and this show, as we're geared toward pastors. A lot of times we have, as pastors, people in ministry have felt like, okay, we have this specific calling from God to be in ministry. And for many, it's full-time vocational ministry. Others, it may be part-time, bivocational, or co-vocational. But we get the feeling like this is our calling. And so we sometimes don't see ourselves doing anything else outside of that, but to realize that God has called us to ministry, but that ministry can look different and can take different forms. So I think pastors are waking up to that now, maybe more than ever. Have you encountered that with other pastors, or is there anything you can speak to about that?
Absolutely, I agree entirely. That I've talked to a number of pastors. Even my own pastor is writing books and things like that as well,
Mm,
because he's trying to develop some side business that he can be passionate about and serve people in a different way. And too
mm,
many people are caught up in the thinking that ministry only happens within the confines of the four walls of a church. And
mm,
so to see pastors jumping out and entering the marketplace by serving others with products and services and consulting and writing and things like that, I think is just wonderful, because it's expanding the church beyond the building that people come to become the church that serves all
mm.
other people.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think it's interesting how if we're engaged in the marketplace, engaged in our community in different ways, it gets us in touch with people that wouldn't otherwise come into the doors of the church. Sometimes people act differently when they think, if we're a pastor, we have our pastor hat on. People act one way, but then they act differently when they don't think we're a pastor. And so, not that we like want to trick people, but we approach them in a different way. We show up differently than when we don't have our official pastor hat on, and maybe people's guards get down. They're more real, and we can become more real as well then in that context. So,
And many times people have this misconception about Christians, as being
ah,
holier than thou, and they don't
mm,
want to have anything to do with them or get into the church. They don't see any need for Jesus or God in their lives. And so they wouldn't even think of coming into a church. But by being in business, where you can get into one-on-one contact with these people and they can start seeing who you are,
mm,
and through that, they'll see how Jesus influences your life, etc., and how you have responded to that and the way that you help other people. And they start questioning, what is it that he knows that I don't know,
mm,
or that I need to know because I want what he's got? That
mm.
enthusiasm, that passion, that drive, that hope for the future. It's just another opportunity for people to get out there and share their faith, but maybe in a way that isn't so in your face. Does that make
Mm.
sense?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I could totally agree with that and resonate with that. Yeah, that's great. You mentioned something earlier in terms of the enthusiasm with all these interviews you've done with so many people. Maybe I heard you wrong, but it sounded like many of them made a big shift, like they were doing one thing career-wise, and then they decided they needed to shift and do something different. Do people always have to make a big shift when they approach 50 or think about later years, or are there smaller shifts that people can make that help them have more purpose and enjoyment? So do you understand what I'm saying? Is it
I
always the
do.
big midlife crisis? I've got to go and quit my job and go do this, or are there other things we can do now that can give us more purpose and enjoyment, in the midst of where we're at? So,
The two people that I just featured most recently on Forward from 50 come from an entirely different perspective. A woman canceled or stopped her 35-year career as a paralegal to
hmm.
become a health coach. That's
uh,
entirely different from what she was doing. And she's found purpose and she's enthusiastic about that. She entered some weightlifting competitions and actually scored a silver medal in the Arizona Senior Olympics in her first competition when she decided she wanted to go in that direction. But the
wow.
individual before that had been creating videos forever. That
Hmm.
was what his job was. In fact, he ran a marketing company that created videos for clients, but he wanted to get back into what he really liked to do, and that was telling his stories his way. And so he started creating more videos about things that interested him. And in the process, his passion and enthusiasm come through in those
Hmm.
videos. And he's starting to amass a following of people who like to hear and connect with him because they like what he says and they like his messages. So he didn't go very far at all from what he had done for many, many years, but his messaging changed a little bit. So it
Hmm.
stopped becoming about promoting products and services for corporations and more about how he's living a more intentional and purposeful life. So he's still utilizing his God-given, his natural talents and his
Hmm.
learned skills and his unique life experiences. They both are, but in different ways.
Yeah, that's so cool. That's really encouraging to me because in my mind, for some reason, years ago, I've always had it like if you're unhappy with where you're at, you have to make a big shift and make a total change. maybe as I've gotten older or had more experiences, I've realized, man, there are subtle shifts I could have made along the way that could
Exactly.
have made this more meaningful, gave me more time freedom, helped me to fulfill my purpose in a different way. And I was blind to those things. And I think a lot of pastors are in that trap too, where they're in a church where maybe ministry is great, it's meaningful, you have significance and calling and purpose in it, but maybe the way you're doing ministry now isn't working. And so sometimes our only option is we have to go to a different church and try to start over. But what if we could start over where we are and try to make some subtle shifts that could really give us more freedom and flexibility and maybe more life, more life-giving for us than it was otherwise.
That's exactly right. And when I was a journalist covering the RV industry, I had to wade through lots of press releases, and I could not stand reading and writing and reformatting press releases. I mean, I had no passion in it or purpose, but people like to read the material, so I did it for my readers. But I got out of the things that I like to do, and that was the pleasure writing, the sharing of the success stories and things like that. So being able to utilize my skills as a writer, not in editing press releases, kill me now for that, but utilizing my skills to interview and other people and share their stories with others is just a wonderful way to utilize and take advantage of those natural skills and talents that I have.
That's awesome. Well, I'm not sure the age demographic of my listeners. There may be some like me who are just over 50. I'll be 53 this year. Had to quick do the math in my head. Yes, I think that's right. But others maybe are quite older, and I'm sure there are some others that are younger. So are there any tips or tricks you'd give to younger folks, maybe in their 20s and 30s or 40s, as they're, wondering what the second half or what, life over 50 will be like? And do you have anything to say to the folks that are over 50 now that maybe haven't given much thought to these things?
I do. Like I'd said earlier, I think we have different purposes in our lives, and our purpose changes as the seasons of our lives change. Before we turn to 50 or before we turn 30, our purpose was to gain the skills and start forming a network and start working and begin a family. And then in the 30s through 50s, what I call the chaos years, because there's so many demands on our lives at that point. You're gaining more experience, you're raising kids, you're fine-tuning your God-given talents and skills, and you're learning more skills to benefit yourself, to improve your career and things like that. Once you turn 50, that changes a bit, and you start to identify the true purpose for using those skills, talent, and life experiences, and that is to benefit other people, to come up and serve others, because genuine purpose always involves serving other people. And I like to use an example of gardening. If you love to garden and raise flowers, that's wonderful. Okay. Is that a purpose to your life? Maybe. It's providing you a lot of joy, but to have this beautiful garden full of flowers in the back of your house that nobody gets to enjoy, is it really serving other people? But if you were to cut those flowers and give them away to other people to brighten their lives, that gives your life purpose and meaning. Or if you were to invite people who wanted to fall in love with gardening to your home, to teach them how to garden, how to plant, how to cultivate and grow a beautiful garden of their own, now you're spreading that joy to other people. And that's giving your life purpose. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. That's great.
Super.
Well, it's all about, how can we continue to make a contribution in the lives of others? And I think for myself too, I think about, every experience that we have, whether we have viewed it as positive or negative, can somehow be used by God to be an encouragement or blessing to someone else. God can take our pain and turn it into our purpose, and, can take our tribulations and turn them into, a beautiful tapestry of his grace and his goodness and stuff. So maybe, we can ask God to help us be more aware of those experiences in our lives and how they can benefit other people if we were to share them and put ourselves out there.
Right. I think that you have a sense that God is pushing you in a different direction, if the idea comes out of the blue, you're not even thinking about it, and you get this idea, maybe I should start this business, or maybe I should write this book or something like that.
Mm.
And it just, you hadn't considered it before, and bam, it's already in there. And you know that it is in line with the talent that you were given at birth, and with the skills you've developed over the years, and with the things that you were aligned with your life experiences. And it's all totally in line with the desires of your heart, as well as to share this story, or to help these people, or to work with this group. And then it serves other people in some way, whatever it is that you're going to be doing, or whatever this idea you've received, it has to involve serving other people. But if it's confirmed by others without prompting, you kind of know that that's from God as well. When other people come up to you and say, you should write a book about that, and that was what you thought about 2 weeks ago, that is a prompting, kind of pushing you in the direction, nudging you ever so slightly into the new way that God wants you to go.
Wow, that's a good word. Well, I wonder if someone listening to this right now, that just triggers something in their mind, like, okay, I've had that experience, I've had that nudging, and okay, now Greg is saying it now, so I've had double, triple confirmation that maybe there's something God's trying to tell me, some step He wants me to take, and maybe I need to figure out how to take that next step. So
that's the best part about being over 50. For many of us, we have the money, we're relatively financially secure in what we're doing, and now we have more time than we know what to do with. And so we can either choose to go fishing all day, sitting in a boat by ourselves, or go on the golf course with one friend and golf day after day after day, or we can utilize our skill, talent, and life experiences to help others. And I think that's far more rewarding. It's a gift that keeps on giving, because the more you serve the other people, right, the fuller you get yourself, and it just exudes from you, the enthusiasm and the passion, and other people start being affected by that. It's like you're spinning, and other people are drawn into your gravity because of what you have. And so it's a great time, I think, being over 50. I never thought I'd live to be this old. I'm 63 in August. And my dad died when he was 48. And so it's just never thought I'd live to be this old. So I'm glad to be here, and I'm glad to have a purpose. And that purpose is to share the purpose that other people have with others.
That's awesome. Well, it's a neat calling the Lord has given you, and it's been really good to see how you have stepped into this and have been developing this platform to help others. In addition to like hosting the podcast, what sorts of resources, or how do you like to guide people or help people if they are approaching retirement, or just they're approaching a change in life in some way? Are there ways that you like to help them figure out what to do, or what's next, or how to begin to take some steps forward?
The whole idea of Forward from 50 came from a conversation I had with a trusted mentor of mine, who just sort of listened to me whine and complain for a while. And then he started brainstorming with me ways that I could serve other people and develop a business idea or a platform around that. And so I love to have brainstorming session phone calls with other people, just to find out what their skills are, their interests are, what they feel God might be calling them to do, but they might not have any idea on how to take that vital first step to get that momentum. But getting that first step and maybe the second step to kind of move in a particular direction can be really hard. I love to have conversations with people about that, and just think of the what if scenarios and how to and things like that, and maybe connect them with people and resources that I have and that I know that might help them in their journeys. That's what I like to do.
Oh, that's awesome.
Thank you.
Sometimes it's really, we just need to have someone else. Like, we have the idea, but we just need to bounce ideas off of someone else that we can trust, who can help us find clarity. And I wish that everyone had someone that they could do that with, but, and I'm talking with some pastors, they feel like there's no one in their circles that they run with where they could like that they could trust with their dream or their vision or their question, or their doubts. They wonder about, okay, am I supposed to be doing ministry as I'm doing it right now the rest of my life, or I feel like there's a vision for something else over here. Can I do both, or do I have to choose one over the other? And so it's so vital to have to know that there's people like myself or like you, or where they can go to and have, here's someone that gets me, who understands where I'm at, who had the same kind of crossroads at some point and can help me find some clarity. And I wish that everyone should have someone like that that they could go to and trust. And it's great that you can provide that for people if they don't have anyone in their sphere of influence right now.
Exactly. I wrote a book last year called 50 over 50. And it includes the profiles of 50 individuals who are over the age of 50, who are doing things differently after reaching that milestone birthday. Some of them started businesses. Some of them launched charities. They're serving other people in some way. And I'm making that book available for free on the forwardfrom50.com website. People just have to go there and visit it. First thing they'll see is an opportunity to click on this to download a complimentary copy of that book. And I think that people, because it talks about so many different things that people have done over the years. And all of the people are over the age of 50. Some are in their 70s or even 80s who have found a unique purpose for their lives. And I think it will be an inspiration for people who'd like to read it.
That's awesome. And so we just go to forwardfrom50.com and then we can sign up right there to get the book.
Scroll down a little bit and there will be an opportunity to get 50 over 50. Download a complimentary copy.
That really sounds cool. I love what you shared about that is people of all ages, like, whether they're 50 or 70 or 80 or 90, God is not done with us. We might be done at some point. Maybe we might be done with a career that's producing income, and maybe that is maybe where we're making something that's so visible that others can readily see, like we might retire from being the lead pastor of a church and we shift to something different where maybe it's less visible, but not less impactful, and where we can still do things no matter what age. We've got the wisdom, the insights that God's given us. And so I love it when I hear people, they haven't just checked out to the golf course or doing endless cruises in the Caribbean, but they're still using what are the talents, the abilities God's given me, and how can I wear out instead of rusting out in my older years. So that's very inspiring to me.
There's one area that I think we need even more involvement in, and that is mentoring men. So the older men in 50s and their 60s really need to start coming alongside these younger guys in their 20s, 30s, and 40s to kind of guide them and listen to them. They're running lost. They're uninitiated. I mean, I can't tell you the number of uninitiated men that I've encountered in the last 6 months. It's just shocking. And so to try and come alongside these guys and give them direction for their life. And I think it would be a very valuable kind of thing that we can do. And you can incorporate that into anything you're doing. It's like, car show coming up this weekend. I'd like to go. Would you like to go hang out with me for a while? If the guy, is enthused about cars, what the heck? It would be a great opportunity just to get to know somebody and develop that relationship that could have such a life-changing impact on their lives. And that, I think, is a wonderful way to leave a legacy.
Wow, that is such a neat insight. The people in the church are wringing their hands right now about losing the Gen Zers and millennials that are just leaving the churches, many churches in droves. I know not every church has experienced that, but for so many churches, we're losing the youngest generations. And what you've just described is an easy way that a pastor, a leader could engage with younger generations to find a common interest, to be able to be a mentor, to connect with people in a personal way, and to not just wring your hands and say, well, I guess we're going to start over with it. The people that are babies today, hopefully they'll be able to lead the church tomorrow. But how can we do something that's meaningful for the younger generations? And they want connection. They want authenticity. They want community, but they're not finding it in many of our churches. And here's a unique way to be able to offer that.
Right. The community has to start one-on-one. It really does. That's so important to do that, because it's not that they're people are looking. They're desperately looking for something, but they don't know where it is. And it's found within the walls of the church. But we often have to leave the church to bring them in, right? To connect with them when they're off. So when you're off lost in the woods, you just don't erect a building and a shelter and hope that they find you. You actually go out looking for them, right? And then
That's true.
you bring them back to safety and to areas of comfort and provide the needs that they've been looking for and that they need.
That's true. Yeah, one of the ideas the Lord had just given me recently, I've been thinking about the inflation budget gap we have right now. Like the average American family, their income has been reduced like $500 a month because of rising prices and because of inflation. And so that's $6,000 a year that the average family has lost in buying power. And I think about the struggles of younger generations wanting to have significance and make a difference. I read that Gen Zers, so many Gen Zers want to have like an online platform. They see influencers on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, and they aspire. We have like a creator generation where the young people today want to create and want to do something online. And so I thought, well, you and I are in this group called Platform Launchers, and that's how we met. And that's a group of people that are coming together to launch an online business or platform and do it together. And I thought, what if there were pastors in churches who had a similar vision? They wanted to create something, but they could even create like a creator club or an entrepreneur club in their church and do something to try to capture these younger people that are all hungry to be creators and producers and to have influence. And so if that could help, provide income for those people. The church could even maybe sell a membership, and that could provide income for the church, or like incubator space for people to hang out, or, that could be just a whole different out of the box way to engage with younger people.
Absolutely. Most churches sit vacant 90% of the time during the week, right?
Yeah.
And so what a better opportunity than to be able to set up a couple of tables and provide an opportunity for people to, do their writing in quiet or their blogging or whatever the case might be. But yeah, I love that idea, Rich, to use the church as an incubator to create platforms for people to go out there and showcase their skills, talents, abilities, products, services, whatever they might be. I think that's a great idea, and it instills that passion. And then you've got a support group right there. It's like, I've got this idea I'm thinking about. It's like, and then you got, if it's multi-generational, then you got the older guys who are saying, yeah, it's a good idea, but you might need to tweak it this way to make it work a little bit better. Or, even the older guys saying, I don't know what to do about this. And the younger folks can step in and say, well, your technology can help you here, and here. Let me show you how to get that done. And everybody helping each other. I love that idea.
It'd be really something to see, a cross-generational movement there of entrepreneurship. Yes. And because I think a lot of churches will struggle financially to survive on the traditional model of tithes and offerings. And we have to look for other ways to generate income for our churches and to help our people. If everyone's income is being reduced because of rising prices, we have to help our people be able to earn more income and look for other ways to provide for their families. And so, yeah, it could be a really unique opportunity. Maybe someone listening to today might take us up on that idea, and I'd love to hear about that if someone goes and launches something like that. So that'd be cool.
Good point. I might have to blog on that.
Oh, that's great. Well, yeah, you have mentioned your book, Forward from 50. And are there other resources or things that you want to point people to on the website? If people wanted to follow up with you and learn more, or book like one of those sessions with you just to brainstorm, how would people want to reach out and follow up with you?
People can find me at forwardfrom50.com, and there's a contact and connect page on there that will give my email address and telephone number. I'm also on Facebook at Greg Gerber and Forward from 50 as well. And so I'd love to reach out to connect with people there at one of those places. We're in the process of developing an online course to help people identify and pursue their purpose. So eventually that will be available. But right now I'm just doing the brainstorming sessions as a gift of love, pretty much, to help other people, because I remember how dark and hopeless I felt not too long ago because I didn't sense a purpose in my life, and what was in my life wasn't enough to get me up in the morning and get me excited about life. So I would just love to have a brainstorming session with somebody to kind of jumpstart their heart and passion and their desires and nudge them into that vital first step that they need to take in order to make it a reality.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, I think you are a great person to be able to do that. Thanks, Greg, for saying yes to that calling that God has given you in this stage of your life. Some people would just want to sit back. I mean, you're in Arizona, you're in the Valley of the Sun, where you could just sit outside and by the pool all day long. But here you are continuing to invest your life into the lives of others. And that's inspiring to me. And I applaud you for that. And thank you for modeling that, how we can invest our later years and our wisdom and experiences and help others. That's just really beautiful.
You've touched on a key point that I often think about, and that's being here in Sun City. It is the original retirement community in America. And so people come here and it's all about recreation. There's something like 7 or 8 rec centers here in our community of 60,000 people. And I can't remember how many golf courses. I think there are 5 golf courses here as well. People are still grumpy. So you've got, I know you've got all the time in the world, you've got the money and the freedom, but the golfing isn't getting it done.
Yeah.
They need that purpose, and the purpose always has to involve serving others in some way, utilizing your unique skills, talent, and abilities to pursue that purpose and to help others with it. When you do that, that's where you find fulfillment in your later years. Otherwise, without that sense of purpose, and you go golfing for 4 hours a day, and then you come home and you watch the news and doom scroll on social media hour after hour after hour, and the negativity just fills your mind. And then without purpose, your business, everybody else's business becomes your business, right? The neighbor's yard is not clean. They didn't bring the trash cans in, It's just when people have that purpose that drives them forward from 50, that's when their lives begin to change.
Oh, that's a beautiful, beautiful word to end on. Thank you, Greg. It's been such a blessing to have you. And I do hope, my listening friend, if you're tuning in and if God has prompted you in some way, I hope you'll look up Greg online and look him up at forwardfrom50.com and get that free book. And I think you'll be inspired by Greg and the stories that he shared. And it'll be exciting to see what seeds God has planted in your life already, wherever you're at now, and how he wants to use those to magnify them even more in our later years, age 50 and beyond. So, Greg, thanks again for being on the show. Really appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Wasn't Greg great? I really appreciate his willingness to be on the show today and to share his story of how he found more meaning and purpose in his life in his later years, and how he launched Forward from 50 to help others do the same. As pastors, haven't we seen firsthand how God specializes in taking our mess and turning it into a message, or taking our pain and turning it into our passion or our purpose? And with God, we're never too old and we're never too late to start living into the purpose and passion he has made us for. Hey, if this conversation has sparked something within you and you want to follow up with Greg, maybe get his free 50 over 50 book, you'll find him over at forwardfrom50.com, and that's forwardfrom50.com. Well, that's it for today's show. Before we go, would you do me a favor and hit like, share, or subscribe if you haven't done so already? Also, what topics would you like me to cover on a future episode? Please let me know. Until next time, remember that you are more than a pastor. Saying yes to God's call doesn't mean you have to say yes to feeling stuck, broke, or unfulfilled in your life and ministry. Let's work together and help you create the life, impact, and income that you were made for.